Baltimore has the highest rate of teenage pregnancy, the highest rate of AIDS within the black community, the highest rate of teens killing teens, and the highest rate of teenage suicide, and the highest rate of blacks killing blacks in Baltimore, Maryland. And this is where we chose to live.
Kids Tupac and Sechua were struggling, moving from shelter to shelter, living in New York City. Eager for a fresh start with the new opportunities, Afeni found a chance to provide a better life and stability for her kids, moving to Baltimore, Maryland. She found an affordable place in a brick house apartment in North Baltimore, located in the small neighborhood of Penn Lucy. If you wanted to know the story of Tupac's teenage years in Baltimore, then this is the video. Tupac, a New York kid with a Harlem swag, was unfamiliar with his new neighborhood and surroundings, quoting his first impressions of Baltimore as an ignorance town, due to it having the highest percentage of black-on-black crime and murders. While adjusting to his new town, Tupac attended Roland Park Middle School to finish the 8th grade. At that time in the neighborhood, as well as at school, Tupac felt like an outcast, being picked on for his name, having no friends, wearing hand-me-downs so bad that his clothes would be 2 sizes too big that he would have to staple his pants together in order for them to fit and wear to school. At home, he slept in a small bedroom while his mother and sister slept in the living room, converted into a bedroom with a mattress in the middle. Tupac realized that having no father figure, no money, sometimes no running water or electricity, he had to become the man of the house and find a way to make it out for his family. But what he always had, no matter how bad things were, was his love for music and the arts. He would often write poetry, listen to wide ranges of music from Prince, rap group Run DMC, rap artists like Curtis Blow. Also, most of all, he spent his time reading books from people like Patrice Lumumba and Stokely Carmichael, To Seize the Time by Bobby Seale, and Soul Dad Brother by George Jackson. Even when they didn't have electricity, Tupac would go out in the front of his house near a street light in order to read one of his favorite books, the autobiography of Malcolm X. He would always be humming a new rhyme or writing some new notes of poetry down every second he could. One day, heading home after school, the bus was nearly packed to capacity with only a few seats open. Tupac, drawn to one of the only friendly faces he saw at the time, sat next to Dana Smith, nicknamed Mouse Man, who was eager to get home himself to watch his favorite hip-hop show, Webb's Rap Attack, which aired at 4 o'clock. Mouse Man, who was popular in school with a talent in beatboxing, asked Tupac if he was into hip-hop and if he knew how to rap. Tupac then kicked a flow to him that was so dope, Mouse Man was immediately impressed. Funny thing is, Mouse Man didn't know that the rap Tupac spit was actually from Curtis Blow, a song that wasn't mainstream and only popular in New York. And fittingly, hailing from New York himself, Tupac chose the rap name MC New York. The two bonded over their love for hip-hop and forged a close friendship from then on, hanging out every day after school, mainly writing rhymes and performing their raps to each other. Occasionally, they would go to the local record store where Tupac would show Mouse Man his other ranges of music genres he enjoyed, artists like Kate Bush with Wuthering Heights, to even Steve Winwood, who is most known for his hit songs Higher Love and Back in the High Life Again. They would often hang out at the local rec center, Tupac uninterested in sports, partly due to not being good at playing any sports like basketball with the other kids, would instead just hang out with Mouse Man and other friends in the neighborhood, writing rhymes and listening to music all day. Their friendship didn't come without its own problems. Though Mouse Man was popular and known as one of the coolest, freshest dressed kids in school, he would get teased for hanging with Tupac, who the other kids would tease, calling him corny and raggedy. Mouse didn't let the hate from the other kids get in the way of their friendship. Often they would stick up for each other against the kids who would try to pick on Tupac. And Tupac, no pushover himself, was willing to confront anyone hating on him. Now, both graduated middle school, attending their freshman year at Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. The two friends decided to take their rap skills to the next level, starting their own group called the East Side Crew. One of Tupac's first rap songs was about gun control, inspired by the fatal shooting of a kid in the neighborhood, as he was known by his friends to have a deep passion to bring an awareness to the conditions and senseless murders in his communities. When he found out the mother couldn't afford to bury her son, Tupac helped to organize a benefit to raise the funds for the funeral. One day, Tupac found a flyer headlined "Calling All Rappers," urging any local rappers under the age of 18 to write the best rap about the Pratt Library and be eligible for a cash prize. All entrants had to submit a written copy of their rhyme in advance with no profanity allowed. After the best raps were selected, the finalists would perform at the library in front of judges who would then pick a winner. Tupac, or MC New York, immediately felt this was his chance to shine. Though he was into his rap music and theater, he was also just as much known for his awareness of the poor conditions in America that the black community was in. Having a mother who was a Black Panther, also a civil rights activist, Tupac was more aware of the plights and struggles black people face much more than his peers. He would often preach to his friends about black history or how to better the community, but it would often fall on deaf ears, being that most kids didn't want to listen to those kinds of things. Understandingly, he would much rather focus on having fun in school. But Tupac carried that knowledge of self-destruction his community was facing, and he would not give up, trying to find a way for them to listen, but in a more cool way. As an example, for the rap contest at the Enoch Pratt Free Library, the East Side crew submitted a rap called Library Rap. By no surprise to them, the rap was selected. The East Side crew was picked to perform for the cash prize, but more importantly, get recognized for their rap skills. Unfortunately, they didn't have transportation to make it to the performance. Now meet Deborah Taylor. At the time, she was the Young Adult Services Coordinator for the Pratt Library. Also was the one who organized the contest to add some positive influence for the community. Deborah found out the boys selected to perform couldn't attend the final event due to not having a ride. So then she stepped up, volunteering to personally drive them herself. And that's what she did. Quoting in an interview, "They were polite boys, they were nice kids." Now at the event, when it was the East Side Crew's turn to perform their song Library Rap, now in front of a judge panel of local radio personalities and a packed crowd, before they started, MC New York said in the mic, "Yo, Enoch Pratt, bust this." Then they started performing their song with lyrics, encouraging the youth to get their library cards, telling the kids to stay in school, learn to read, and to get all the credits you need to graduate. During the performance, the judges were drawn to Tupac. Quoting, "The scrawny kid lit up the room with his rapping." That when he started performing, one judge stated, "It wasn't the best rhymes, but when Tupac performed, he exploded. You couldn't take your eyes off of him." By no one's surprise in attendance, Tupac and the East Side Crew won a cash prize of $100. Following the performance, the group gained some local success. To capitalize off their new attention, they made more songs to perform at local events. Driven by Tupac's influence, the group focused on positive raps for the community with songs titled "Babies Having Babies" and "Genocide Rap," focused on the political and social awareness Tupac inherited from his mother. Now taking their rap skills seriously, they would perform for anyone that was willing to listen, from neighborhood block parties to the drug dealers working on Old York Road to even opening for local acts like rap group Matronics at the Cherry Hill Rec Center. In order to get in, you had to audition, so Tupac went right to work. With the help from his best friend Mouse Man, they practiced tirelessly for weeks on end, running lines from a play Tupac was familiar with, Raisin in the Sun. Mouse quoting in an interview, "We worked on it for weeks. You could tell Tupac was destined." Fast forward to the day of the audition, meet Donald Hicken, the head of the theater department at BSA. Mr. Hicken was immediately impressed with the young Tupac. Speaking about his audition, "It was so good. The first thing I noticed was that he was extremely charismatic. From the very beginning, we all sensed he was the real deal." With such a great audition, Tupac was accepted into the school. Starting his sophomore year, excited to focus on perfecting his skills in the arts, Tupac embraced being a theater artist, studying the greats like Henrik Ibsen, Sam Shepard, and Shakespeare. Mr. Hicken noticed Tupac's passion, saying, though he wasn't an especially good student academically, he had a great sense of humor. Though sometimes considered as the class clown, he was incredibly bright and had a lot of intellectual curiosity. For one assignment, Mr. Hicken asked students to create a movement piece based on a song that speaks to you in a very personal way. Tupac chose Don McLean's Vincent Starry Starry Night, a song about Vincent van Gogh by the songwriter best known for American Pie. It included lines like "You suffered for your sanity" and connected that suffering to being misjudged. When Mr. Hicken asked Tupac why he picked this song, Tupac replied the song was about someone who was an artist but couldn't be taken seriously because of the world he was in. That's how the song spoke to me. And that sounds very fitting for Tupac, I must say myself. Tupac loved his new school, being able to experience acting in plays, different forms of arts like ballet or spoken word, to even making new close friends like John Cole, Darren Basfield, and a young, beautiful Jada Pinkett. John Cole, quoting in a tribute book, Pac was always intense, extremely passionate. He was always on stage, always entertaining, and always hamming it up. Darren Basfield, who eventually joined Tupac's rap group, said one morning while him and a group of classmates were rapping, Tupac approached him and said, "I heard y'all rapping. Want a battle?" Darren, noticing how cocky Tupac seemed, but being confident himself, accepted the challenge. Tupac kicked a freestyle this time that he actually wrote, and not surprisingly, won the rap battle. Since that day, they forged a close friendship. Now, Jada Pinkett was known around school for being talented as well, impressing students and teachers alike with her confidence and skills. Jada quoted in an interview, "It was the first day of school and Tupac came over to me and introduced himself. In high school, Pac was a little funny looking. Definitely from looking at him wasn't necessarily the type of cat that I would even deal with, but as soon as he approached me, he was like a magnet. Once you paid attention to him, he kind of sucked you in, and we hit it off from that moment on." For fun after school or on the weekends, Tupac, Jada, and John would all three get inside John's car, taking trips around town, sometimes even long road trips to New York City. Tupac loved his school environment, felt it was an escape from his personal life, which no one knew but wasn't going so well at the time. Back home, due to her involvement as a Black Panther with the high-profile bombing case that made national news, though exonerated, the family name still was viewed as a negative in the press, resulting in Afeni being unable to keep a job. On top of this, to cope with the stress, she found her crutch in drugs, developing an addiction, and was unable to fully support her kids financially. To help after school, including most weekends and nights, Tupac would find a job as a stock boy for a local fish market near the Inner Harbor, bringing home the little money he made for his mom, also food for his sister. With his mom strung out on drugs causing a negative environment which escalated into a strained relationship, to escape, Tupac would seek shelter whenever kicked out, staying over at some of his friends' houses like John Cole, who not only would let Tupac live with him whenever him and Afeni had a falling out, but also lended him clothes to wear to school, which now seems to be his most positive times. Enjoying his popularity, Tupac was known to blend in with any group, making people laugh, and would engage in deep conversations as well. Funny story, one day Tupac and a classmate, Seth Bloom, was assigned to do a scene from the play Fool for Love. The two boys wanted to dig deep into their method acting characters, being since Seth's character was a drinker, he brought in real tequila in a jar from home. Tupac's character had a gun, so he brought a real gun to school that day as well. On stage, set to start their rehearsals, Mr. Hickens caught the smell of alcohol in the air. Noticing the jar Seth had, he walked over to smell the bottle, and he was immediately shocked, asking, "You brought tequila to school?" The boys replied, yeah, the character drinks tequila." Then he looked at the table near Tupac. "My God, you've got a gun?" Immediately forced the boys to take their items back home, replacing them with iced tea and a water pistol. On a lot of school days, Tupac didn't have money for lunch, so he spent his time instead in the library reading books. Some friends saying they think he may have read every book in the school library. Being so young, Tupac was obviously stressed, living a double life. Still connected with his best friend's Mouse Man as well as others in the hood, but he couldn't express his passion for theater or his achievements at school because no one in the hood was into that, and would instead view you as being corny. While at BSA, he couldn't express the dire conditions he was actually living in one way protecting his mother, but also to avoid embarrassment or shame. Despite his stressful circumstances, he managed to keep his dreams alive, forming a new rap group with Mouse Man, Darren, and another friend, Gerard Young. called Born Busy. They made tapes that are considered Shakur's first recordings with 8 songs that remain unreleased to this day. According to Mouseman, we rapped, wrote our stuff, and worked every day. Our songs spoke about loyalty and friendship. We were big on that. Now a junior in high school, Tupac's highlight of his days was going to school, including the close brother and sister friendship he maintained with Jada, who was dealing with her own struggles no one knew about as well. At home, Jada was raised with her grandmother and mom, but struggling very bad financially. Unfortunately, her mom also started to battle her own drug addiction as well. After school to help pay bills, she started dealing drugs, and while getting caught up in the street life, she still was driven, focused on achieving her goals and acting. These struggles allowed her and Tupac to relate in ways most students couldn't. Having extreme struggles in their own personal lives brought them even closer. Tupac, though now on academic probation, his teacher, Mr. Hicken, would seem to almost marvel at the talent he possessed, saying he had big plans for him his senior year. At BSA, this year is considered the most important, dedicated to performance technique development with a lot of rehearsals and performances. It's 1988, with junior year close to an end. Tupac, though dealing with his own struggles at home, found school and friendships as a sanctuary that he cherished and was finally excited about his future. But one day, everything changed. As Mr. Hicken remembers, Tupac walked into his office with tears in his eyes, bringing the sad news that he had to move to California with his mother and sister. In shock, Mr. Hickens consoled Tupac, knowing how important the school was to him. He offered to find Tupac a host family that would allow him to stay so he didn't have to leave. That way he could continue his passion for the arts. But a crying Tupac declined, saying, "I have to go. I have to be there for my sister," that he couldn't abandon his family. That summer, Tupac was sent alone to live with Linda Pratt in Marine City, California. Afeni and his sister would later follow. The time Tupac experienced in Baltimore was important to the artist, actor, and entertainer he would eventually become and who we all would grow to love.
Yo, YouTube, what up? It's your homie Gab, I'm in the building, and this is MAKAVELI Media. First and foremost, let me give a big shout out to Memo-Digital for putting together a very entertaining yet informative Tupac animation that was full of facts. Let's start right there. This almost 20-minute animation is full of facts. How do I know? Because it's personal things that I've learned over the years about Tupac and his experience here in Baltimore City, and a lot of them was documented in this animation. No doubt about it. One of the things that get me the most is that when they talk about Tupac and they talk about Baltimore, they only talk about Tupac and his experience at the Baltimore School at the Performing Arts. Like Tupac was only here for a cup of coffee. That's not true. Tupac went to Roland Park Elementary Middle School. He went to Dunbar High, and he went to the Baltimore School of the Performing Arts. That's elementary, middle, and high school. He wasn't here just for a year or two. And, you know, it's funny to me that when they talk about his stay here in Baltimore, which was very vital, you know, he honed and crafted his skills here that made him, you know, that helped make him, or should I say propel him to the elite level of entertainment. It's just amazing to me. So many stories, so many memories. I remember seeing Tupac in my neighborhood. A guy named Speedy that went to Dunbar with Tupac actually brought him through my hood. When I was a kid, I sat in the same yard with Tupac. You know, I don't claim to be a friend of Tupac because I was younger than Tupac. But with a name like Tupac and him rapping and going by MC New York, and we couldn't forget him. And, you know, this is one of the reasons why I do what I do today, because Tupac definitely inspired me, you know, as an artist and being from the hood and just being an individual that I seen up close and personal at a very young and impressionable age. Definitely made his mark, left an impact on me. But back to this animation, Memo-Digital has so many intricate small details and large details in this animation. It's crazy. You know, they knew about how him and Mouse Man got together and formed the East Side Crew, and then later formed Born Busy, and Tupac bringing the gun to school, and they also talked about Tupac moving to California. It's funny, when I interviewed Linda Steinberg, when Tupac was in Oakland or in the jungle, you know what they called Tupac? The guy from Baltimore. That's what she told me. She said, it's funny, Gab, they actually called him the guy from Baltimore. So that's how long he was here. He had actually picked up the accent and everything else. And, you know, when he got out to Oakland, you know, it was about the O, and it's all good. But the facts are what they are. Tupac's time here in Baltimore, Maryland was very vital and very impactful on his life at that time. And I think you guys should definitely go over to Memo-Digital on YouTube and subscribe to him. Not only this Tupac animation, but they have other historical figures that stories need to be told, and they do it via animation. I think it's brilliant, and I think they have a very good channel, and I thank them for being gracious enough to let me review their videos. Don't forget to sub to the channel. This is MAKAVELI Media. I need you guys to turn on them post notifications so you'll be the first ones to get it when I drop that shit. It's been a pleasure as always. I'm your homie Gab. I'm signing off. I'm about to hit y'all with the peace.